It definitely creates a bit of mystery around this 19-year-old Jacob. You get these little glimpses, but not the whole picture.
Totally. So this Jacob kid, 19 years old, shows up in these bits and pieces, and then we look at the Wikipedia page for Nakagami Kenji. And, okay, things start clicking. For anyone listening who doesn't know him, Nakagami was a pretty major Japanese novelist, born 1946, died fairly young in 1992.
That's right. Born in Shingu City, Wakayama Prefecture, graduated from the local high school there. And his early life, well, he worked manual labor jobs in Tokyo while trying to write.
Right.
And those biographical details, especially his roots in that Kishu Kumano region, they become really important when you look at his books.
Yeah, the Wikipedia page mentions his main themes, and they're really specific. Like you said, Kishu Kumano, and this term he used, the roji, his word for his buraku community.
Yes, the buraku community. Historically marginalized outcast communities in Japan. Understanding that background is pretty crucial for understanding his work. Themes of identity, community, social structures.
And blood relations, sexuality, mythology, modern thought. Even Asia as a broader theme. He was tackling some big stuff.
Absolutely. He really was. And his major novels, The Cape, Karakanata, The Pleasures of the Millennium, To the Ends of the Earth, Supreme Time, they all dig into these kinds of complex, interconnected themes. He built this really unique literary world.
Okay, and here's the kicker, the direct link. Under his list of novels, there it is.
Yeah.
It is. 19-year-old Jacob, published 1986.
Bingo.
So that phrase we kept seeing in the titles you sent, it's literally the title of one of his novels.
Exactly. Suddenly those fragments aren't quite so random seeming. They have an anchor.
Yeah. It connects our mystery Jacob directly to Nakagami.
And it tells us this isn't just a coincidence of names. It's a specific work by a significant writer dealing with really complex themes. Identity, community, human experience, all seen through his particular lens.
Which naturally makes you wonder about Nakagami himself when he was 19. That would be around, what, 1965?
Yeah, 1965. And the Wikipedia page actually gives us some interesting clues about that time in his life.
It does. It says he went to Tokyo, supposedly to study for university entrance exams.
Right, but apparently the prep school thing didn't really stick.
No.
It says it was short-lived. Instead, he was hanging out in Shinjuku, not working, just soaking up the modern jazz scene. That was a big thing for him.
Huh. And not just listening, right? He got involved in writing pretty quickly, too. Joined a literary group, Bunji Shuto.
Literary capital, yeah. And then the very next year, 1966, he published his first piece. Get this title. I Am 18.
Wow, okay. So 18, then 19. He was writing about that age right when he was living it, practically.
It's incredibly close, isn't it? His own experience at 19, and then years later, he writes a novel called 19-Year-Old Jacob. You have to ask.
How much of himself is in that? Is Jacob kind of Nakagami, or is it more like reflecting on what that age means?
Could be either or both. It feels very likely that the novel draws on the feelings, the intensity, the stuff he was going through around that age, his own late adolescence.
It makes sense. Writers pull from their lives. And maybe that age just stuck with him as being really important. Now, these excerpts we have, they don't explicitly mention Kishu Kumano or the roji.
No, they don't.
But knowing that's his usual territory, it still adds context, right? Like, even if Jacob isn't in the roji, maybe Nakagami's bringing that understanding of community or maybe feeling like an outsider to the character.
I think that's a really crucial point.
Yeah.
His core concerns, identity, belonging, maybe feeling marginalized, those could absolutely shape Jacob's story wherever it's set.
Yeah, like maybe Jacob is dealing with similar feelings of figuring out who he is, where he fits, that whole intense self-discovery thing that happens around 19.
Exactly. And the Wikipedia page also mentions his interest in sexuality as a theme. That's something likely to be explored in a novel about a 19-year-old finding their way.
Definitely. And you also mention his influences, Faulkner, Garcia Marquez. That suggests this isn't just a simple story. It could be pretty complex, layered.
He was definitely a sophisticated writer, engaged with big ideas and different styles. That non-linear thing you sometimes see in modern writing, the way memory works, kind of jumpy. Maybe those fragments we saw are doing that deliberately.
Oh, interesting. Like reflecting the chaos of being young.
Could be.
Yeah.
So now that we know it's a novel, 19-Year-Old Jacob from 86, we can look back at those bits you sent.
Right, those numbered sections, maybe just different chapters. And we just got a few random ones.
Seems plausible. Very plausible.
And what about Anatomy of the Heart? Same kind of numbering, 7, 8, 9, 10. Could that have been like an earlier title? Or maybe a title for just part of the book?
It's possible. Anatomy of the Heart. That title suggests something more internal, maybe focusing on Jacob's emotions in those specific sections.
Yeah. That's evocative. It's a neat little puzzle. Without more info, it's hard to say for sure, but it makes you think.
Or, even if they are all from the final novel, maybe these specific short bits were chosen because they're particularly intense moments. Key turning points or feelings for Jacob at 19.
It keeps coming back to that title, doesn't it? 19-year-old Jacob. So direct. After all this context about Nakagami, it feels like there's real weight behind choosing something so simple.
Well, 19 is a loaded age, isn't it?
Sure.
Culturally, it's often seen as this major threshold.
Yeah.
End of adolescence, start of adulthood.
New freedoms, new pressures.
Figuring things out, who you are, where you belong. It can be a really turbulent time.
Yeah, totally. Think about it. It's often when big decisions start happening. Paths diverge. It's a crossroads. So for a writer like Nakagami, who seems to have had his own intense experiences around this...
It's fertile ground. Lots to explore psychologically, emotionally.
So wrapping things up a bit, what we've pieced together is that this phrase, 19-year-old Jacob, points straight to a novel by Kenji Nakagami.
Right. A writer known for digging into identity, community, all the complexities of being human, often through the lens of his own specific background in Kumano.
And these fragments we looked at, they're like little windows onto that novel, suggesting a potentially powerful look at young adulthood through his eyes.
Exactly. Tantalizing glimpses.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with this thought, these bits and pieces. Knowing what we know now about Nakagami, it makes you think about how just one single year in someone's life can be such a deep well for art, right?
Definitely.
What does 19 mean to you now, looking back? And could reading about it through fiction like Nakagami's maybe give you a different kind of understanding?
It's a great question. And really, the best way to find out more is probably to track down the novel itself, 19-year-old Jacob. See the full picture.
Yeah, absolutely. See what Nakagami made of that pivotal year. It sounds like it could be quite the journey.